A billboard ahead displayed a message addressed directly to me. The road had been empty for so long it felt theoretical. Highway 47 cut through miles of scrubland and fallow fields. A long black ribbon glossed with recent rain. My headlights stretched thin over the asphalt, swallowed almost immediately by fog that had rolled in from the low wetlands to the east. The world beyond the beam didn't exist. It was just me, the hum of the engine, and the faint hiss of tires passing over damp pavement. I hadn't seen another car in 20 minutes. The billboard stood ahead on the right shoulder, elevated on two metal stilts like an observation tower. I almost missed it. Most of the older boards out here were blank or sun-bleached relics advertising fireworks or lawyers who'd long since retired. This one was digital, new, bright, out of place. Its light cut through the fog in a pale blue rectangle. At first, I thought it was just a standard ad rotation, the kind that cycles between insurance companies and fast food chains. But as I got closer, the text sharpened, and something in my chest tightened. It wasn't a logo. It wasn't a slogan. It was my name. Hello, Daniel. The letters were tall, stark white against a charcoal background. No punctuation, no flair, just that. My hands tightened on the wheel. I felt a thin sheen of sweat beneath my palms, slick against the textured leather. A laugh escaped me, small, brittle. Coincidence, I told myself. Daniel isn't rare. The fog shifted in a slow exhale, revealing more of the sign's surface. The pixels hummed faintly, a high electrical whine I could hear even through the closed windows. Or maybe I imagined it. As my car drew nearly parallel, the text flickered. For half a second the board went blank, black as a dead screen. Then it refreshed. You're late. A pulse of cold moved through my stomach. I checked the clock on the dashboard. 11:43 p.m. I wasn't late for anything. I wasn't expected anywhere. I was driving back from my sister's house, 2 towns over, after a late dinner and too much small talk. I told no one my exact route home. The fog pressed in thicker, curling around the billboard's steel supports like fingers. The sign flickered again. Still taking the back roads? My breath stalled halfway in. There are 3 ways back to my place. The interstate, the county road, or this, Highway 47. I take this route when I want quiet, when I want to think. I hadn't told anyone I'd chosen it tonight. The letters glowed steadily. No glitching now. No cycling ads. Just conversation. A faint crackle brushed the radio speakers, though the radio was off. A static sigh. I glanced at it, half expecting it to come alive. The sign changed again. You always do when you're anxious. My chest constricted. I felt suddenly aware of my breathing, too shallow, too quick. The fog outside seemed to thicken in rhythm with it. This was a prank. It had to be. Targeted advertising gone wrong. Maybe the board used facial recognition, pulled data from somewhere, my phone, the car's Bluetooth. My name was in dozens of databases. Everyone's was. But anxious? That word felt chosen. I hadn't realized I was. The board went dark once more as I drove past it. I exhaled, a shaky sound I didn't recognize as my own. In the rearview mirror, the rectangle of light glowed faintly through the fog. Then it brightened. The message had changed again. You missed the turn. A jolt ran through me. I snapped my eyes forward. The road ahead stretched straight, unbroken, the centerline gleaming faintly. There was no intersection for miles. I'd driven this stretch enough times to know. Still, I slowed. In the mirror, the billboard's light flared brighter, the text growing sharper as though it were somehow closer. Turn around. My heart began to pound hard enough that I could feel it in my throat. The tires hummed louder against the asphalt as I eased off the accelerator. The fog shifted, and for a moment the reflection in my mirror seemed wrong. The billboard wasn't receding. It was nearer. Impossible. I was driving away from it. I pressed the gas again. The engine responded, but the sensation of forward motion felt uncertain, like running in a dream. The sign updated. You can't outrun what you brought with you. A thin, metallic taste filled my mouth. The radio crackled again, longer this time. Beneath the static, there was something else. Pattern. Not words, but rhythm. Familiar. 3 short bursts. Too long. The pattern I tap on my steering wheel when I'm thinking. When I'm nervous. The board flickered in time with it. I stopped tapping. The static stopped. My thoughts felt suddenly exposed, as though the air inside the car had grown porous, leaking outward. The fog outside thickened until the world narrowed to a tunnel of white. The sign's glow in the mirror became the only distinct shape. The letters shifted rapidly now, updating mid-flicker. You're thinking about the night on Hawthorne. My stomach dropped. I hadn't said that street name out loud in years. The rain-slicked pavement. The stray dog that darted out. The split-second decision. The sickening thud beneath the tires. I told myself it hadn't been avoidable. The sign glowed brighter. You didn't stop. I couldn't, I whispered. Before I realized I was answering, the interior of the car felt smaller, the ceiling lower. The hum of the engine deepened into something more resonant, as if vibrating through my ribs. You didn't even check. The letters pulsed with each word. In the mirror, the billboard now filled nearly the entire frame. It loomed as though following, keeping pace no matter how fast I drove. I didn't see it, I said, voice thin. It was dark. The fog outside thinned abruptly. Ahead, through the windshield, I saw something that froze me. Another billboard. Identical. Same steel supports. Same digital panel. Standing directly in the middle of the road. I slammed the brakes. The car skidded, tires shrieking against wet asphalt. The smell of burnt rubber flooded the cabin. The car stopped inches from the supports. The screen flickered. Good. The words stretched wide across it. Now you're paying attention. The windshield reflected the glow back at me, overlaying the interior with pale light. My own face stared back faintly in the glass, washed out, eyes wide. The board changed again. We've been watching since before Hawthorne. A low hum began, not from the sign, not from the car. From everywhere. A subsonic vibration that pressed into my bones. Watching. The screen split into smaller panels, each showing a still image. My childhood bedroom, the cracked ceiling paint above my old bed, the parking lot of my high school, my apartment living room, taken from a corner near the ceiling. All angles I had never seen. My throat closed. The images dissolved back into text. You call it guilt. We call it access. The fog behind the sign churned, not drifting but coiling inward toward the billboard like breath being drawn. The letters shifted one final time. You think this is a message. Paused. This is a mirror. The screen went black. In its surface, I saw only my reflection. Car lights casting long beams around me. Fog swallowing the edges of the world. But something in the reflection was wrong. In the driver's seat, the silhouette was slightly delayed. A fraction of a second behind my movements. I lifted my hand. The reflection lifted its hand a moment later. Cold flooded my limbs. The dark screen flickered once more, and white letters appeared. Not across the board, but across the windshield itself, as if projected from inside the glass. We're not sending this to you. We're sending this through you. The words shimmered, then faded. The hum stopped. The fog thinned. The billboard in the road was gone. Just empty asphalt stretching forward. My car idled softly, the only sound in a vast, open silence. In the rearview mirror, there was no light, no sign, no glow, only darkness. My phone vibrated in the cup holder. The sound was impossibly loud. A notification preview lit the screen. Unknown sender. A single message. Daniel, we're almost ready. Below it, typing dots appeared. They pulsed in the same rhythm I tap on the steering wheel when I'm nervous. 3 short, 2 long. And then, slowly, the text updated in real time. Look up. I didn't want to, but I did. Above the road, where the sky should have been an empty, starless black, faint rectangular shapes glowed behind the thinning fog. Dozens of them. Stacked, suspended, facing downward, waiting to display whatever I thought next. The moon vanished behind clouds, but its light stayed on the road. I noticed it because the temperature dropped all at once. One moment the night air slipping through the cracked window was cool and damp, carrying the scent of wet soil and distant pine. The next, it felt sharpened, thin as metal against my cheek. I rolled the window up and watched the sky. Clouds had been building for miles, low and swollen, drifting like dark bruises across the horizon. They swallowed the moon in a slow, deliberate motion. Its edges blurred, then dissolved entirely. The sky went black, but the road ahead did not. A pale wash of light still lay across the asphalt, silver and soft, exactly where the moonlight had been a moment before. It stretched along the center line, clinging to the yellow paint, and the damp sheen of rainwater pooled in shallow depressions. I eased off the accelerator. The engine's hum lowered in pitch, settling into a steady vibration beneath my feet. The only other sound was the faint hiss of tires over wet pavement and the distant rattle of something loose in the trunk. I glanced up again. No moon, only clouds shifting like slow breath. The light on the road did not fade. It held steady as if pinned there. I told myself it was residual brightness, my eyes adjusting, the way a camera sensor burns in an image for a second too long. I blinked hard. The glow remained. Fog gathered low along the ditches, moving in thin veils that curled toward the asphalt but never quite touched the illuminated strip. It was as if the fog respected its boundary. The beam was too precise. Moonlight scatters. It softens. It doesn't sit in a clean ribbon centered exactly between lane markings. I drove forward. The glow moved with me, not spreading outward like headlights, not flickering like reflection. It advanced at the exact pace of my car, maintaining a fixed distance 20 feet ahead, no more, no less. A guiding light, or a leash. My grip tightened on the steering wheel. The textured leather felt cold despite the heater humming faintly through the vents. The dashboard lights cast a dull amber glow inside the cabin, but they felt distant, irrelevant compared to the silver band outside. The clouds thickened overhead, erasing even the faintest suggestion of lunar shape. Still, the road shone. The light began to change. At first, it was subtle, a widening at the edges, a feathering outward that brushed the shoulder. Then it narrowed again, condensing into something sharper, like a spotlight angled from above. But there was no angle. It fell straight down, perfectly vertical, as if gravity itself had become luminous. I slowed further. The beam slowed with me. I tested it, pressed the gas gently. The engine responded. The beam responded. It did not lag. It did not lead. It tracked. The trees lining the road cast long, skeletal shadows that leaned inward. But the shadows didn't align with the supposed source. They bent sideways, stretching in directions that contradicted the invisible moon. I checked my mirrors. Behind me, the road was dark. No trailing glow. No spillover. Only the strip ahead remained lit. The sensation of being watched settled in. Not from the woods, not from the sky, but from the light itself. As though it were not illuminating the asphalt, but studying it. Studying me through it. The fog thickened abruptly, swallowing the shoulders entirely. The illuminated band now floated in a sea of gray, an isolated path through nothingness. The road curved gently to the right ahead. The light did not. It stayed straight. For a fraction of a second, the beam extended off the pavement and into the trees, cutting through trunks and branches without obstruction. It didn't break against them. It passed through, revealing depth that shouldn't have been visible, layers of forest receding far beyond what my headlights could reach. Shapes flickered in that depth. Not movement, impressions, like afterimages burned into the air. I turned the wheel to follow the curve. The light hesitated, then bent, slowly, reluctantly, snapping back into alignment with the road only after I had committed to the turn. My breath fogged the windshield despite the defroster running. The glass felt colder than it should. The beam narrowed again, concentrating. Something dark appeared within it. At first I thought it was debris, a branch fallen across the road. But as I drew closer, I realized it wasn't on the asphalt. It was embedded in the light itself. A shadow that did not belong to anything physical. It resembled a human silhouette, vague shoulders, the suggestion of a head. But it was inverted, darker than the surrounding silver, as if cut out from within the glow. It moved when I moved, tilting slightly as the car tilted over uneven pavement. My pulse quickened. I could feel it in my fingertips. The engine's hum seemed louder now, intrusive. I considered turning it off, coasting to see if the light would continue without the vibration beneath me. But the idea of stopping felt wrong. The beam pulsed once. Not brighter, denser. The silhouette sharpened. And then I understood. It wasn't ahead of me. It was directly beneath me. The light wasn't illuminating the road in front. It was projecting something from the underside of my car. I swallowed, throat dry. The asphalt texture changed, cracks widening. Tar seems glistening under the silver wash. I could see every imperfection, every pebble pressed into the surface. Too clearly, as though the road were being examined under magnification. The silhouette in the light mimicked my posture. When I leaned forward slightly, it leaned. When I turned my head, it turned. But its movements lagged, half a second behind. The same delay I sometimes see in old video feeds. A recording catching up. The realization settled heavy in my chest. The light wasn't following me. It was calibrating. I tried to accelerate sharply to break the synchronization. The engine roared. The car surged. The beam did not falter. Instead, it expanded, stretching farther down the road, illuminating a much longer stretch than before. Within it, more silhouettes flickered. Not just one, dozens. Layered atop one another, offset by fractions of a second. Past positions. Future ones. A corridor of possible movements. The fog around us retreated as if pushed back by invisible pressure. The trees seemed to lean inward, bark textures shimmering under the unnatural glow. Shadows pooled where they shouldn't, curving upward along trunks like ink defying gravity. The clouds overhead churned. For a brief instant, the moon broke through. Or what should have been the moon. Instead of a pale disk, there was a hollow, an absence shaped like it. A perfectly circular gap in the clouds, revealing nothing behind. No stars, no sky, just depthless black. The light on the road intensified. Not silver now, but bone white. The silhouettes aligned. All of them, every offset version snapped into a single shape. Directly under my car. The steering wheel vibrated in my hands. Though the road was smooth, the mirrors trembled. A thought surfaced unbidden. It's not showing you what's ahead. It's showing what's inside. The beam shifted upward slightly. For a heartbeat, it illuminated not the asphalt, but the underside of the chassis, metal, suspension, rust patterns, rendered in stark clarity. Then higher, through the floor, through me. I felt it, not warmth, not cold, but attention. A scanning sensation that moved from my feet to my chest to my skull. Memories flickered in the corner of my vision. Moments I'd buried. Words I hadn't meant. Lies told casually. Regrets pressed flat and stored away. The silhouettes multiplied again, but this time they weren't mine. They were the impressions of those moments. Figures formed from the shape of guilt, from the outline of unspoken things. The road ahead dissolved. There was no pavement now, no lines, no shoulder. Only light. And beneath it, darkness that seemed to curve inward, like the inside of an enormous lens. The engine sputtered. The hum died. The car coasted. Yet the light continued to carry me forward. I looked up once more. The hollow where the moon had been widened. And I understood with a clarity that hollowed me out in return. The moon hadn't vanished behind clouds. It had never been a source. It was a cover. The true light had always come from below, reflected not off the world, but off us. Harvested, focused, studied. The beam contracted one final time, narrowing until it was no wider than the hood of my car. Fixed me in place. The silhouettes resolved into a single, perfect outline. Not of my body, of the space I would leave behind. The light wasn't guiding me. It was measuring, choosing. And as the hollow in the sky closed like an eyelid, the last thing I understood was that the glow had not chosen me at random. had been following my road for years, waiting for the clouds to clear enough to see straight through me.